Thank you very much, Mr Chair, for the opportunity to speak to Clause 11 of the Royal Society of New Zealand Amendment Bill. Just before I start, I just want to, because my colleague Moana Maki has spoken on this issue, just to say that I don't have any conflict of interest here. I'm not an ordinary member or professional member or companion or fellow or of the Royal Society of New Zealand, but it's good to know that it is good to know that we do have a professional member of the Royal New Zealand Society here on this side of the House. And I just to take another point that Moana Maki made is that on a number of occasions it was very useful to speak to members of the Royal New Zealand Society of New Zealand as a journalist. Sometimes when you're addressing very complex issues of a science nature, to put it into plain English, there was usually a member of the science community who was also a member, or usually a pretty eminent member of the Royal New Zealand Society of New Zealand that helped me out as a journalist. Just to help people at home who I'm sure have tuned in to this debate, having heard about it because of the great profile that it has, I know that at 7:30 close-up close-up Campbell Live and Shortland Street finish. I'll just let people know at home who have tuned in that we are debating Clause 11, which is around honorary members, and Section 16.1 is amended by omitting science or technology and substituting science, technology or the humanities. And I just want to see if we can get closer to the point around the distinction of an honorary member and a companion, as we were debating in the previous clause. And I think if I'm correct, and I'll probably ask the member responsible for this, I think the difference would pretty much be contained in 10.1a, where the person has to have shown outstanding leadership in science, technology or the humanities, because B is talking about the eminent or sustained contribution to the promotion, and that is basically what is contained in Clause 11. So the member is nodding, so I think that is the level of differentiation between someone who is an honorary member and someone who is who is a companion of the Royal Society of New Zealand. Mr Chair, I think this is a very exciting time for the Royal Society of New Zealand, because as we've spoken at length on other clauses of this bill brings humanities into the realm of the Royal Society of New Zealand. And I think this really will change the nature and the culture of the Royal Society, because I think we're going to see a lot more people being given these honorary memberships and companionships of the Royal Society of New Zealand. And I'm just wondering, now that we've got the humanities coming in, just trying to think of who might become an honorary member or might become a companion of the Royal Society of New Zealand. And I'm thinking of Pacific Island people of eminence who might be able to become members or companions of the Royal Society of New Zealand. And one person that I thought who would be an excellent example of such a person would be Alfred Hunkin. And I'm getting a nod from the member in charge. Of course, for those at home who don't know much about Alfred Hunkin, he's the Program Director in Samoan Studies at Victoria University. And over the years, you went to school with him. That's ex-school teacher. That's a noble trade. Over the years, Alfred, as a composer and a musician, has tried to use music to continue the culture of Samoa and to make sure that the language and the stories of his homeland are continued. And I think him, as someone who obviously works in the Samoan Studies Department at Victoria University, would be someone who has, in terms of Clause 11, in terms of Clause 11 and the details in which the Council looking at when it's looking at giving honorary membership to people. I think he was someone who is probably offered eminent service and someone who probably could be given a break with his levies too. So I think as we look to broaden the nature of the Royal Society of New Zealand, and in particular to the honorary membership under Clause 11, I think it's one person who I think would pretty much fill the bill in terms of who someone we could extend the distinction of an honorary membership to for the Royal Society of New Zealand. Mr Chair, as I say, this is a very exciting time for the Royal Society of New Zealand to bring humanities into the fold.
Jamie Lee Ross.
Move that the question be now put.
I'll hear Jacinda Ardern.